Do you want the most OP enchantments Minecraft has to offer? Well, you've come to the right place. This whole factory here will produce a full set of full netherite gear, tools, and weaponry fully automatically with the most OP enchantments you have ever seen. Just to give you a little sneak peek, this is the shovel with Fortune 4, Efficiency 6, Unbreaking 4, and Mending, and our helmet with Protection 5, Blast Protection 5, Fire Protection 5, Projectile Protection 5, Thorns 4, Unbreaking 4, Mending. You could take 40 shots with an arrow and then get blown up by 8 creepers and still be fine with this type of armor. It is absolutely insane, and all of it is being made in this little area. As per usual, all the schematics for everything you see here will be included in the description, as well as a schematic for the whole thing, but do be warned, in the new Create 6, schematics have been super weird. They don't copy fully, or missing belts, things may be backwards. I would still watch the video to see how to fix it, and in the future, if enough people want me to, I can create block by block tutorials for each of the separate components if that is necessary. Oh goodness, that's too loud. So let me know down in the comments, leave a like on this video if you want to see those tutorials, and if you want the world download, join my membership. Anyone with any tier will get access to these world downloads. So to start off, let's show you how this thing works. So everything starts back here with the Silverfish XP farm. I am turning my volume off because it sounds so horrible over here with the Silverfish dying and this grindstoning all the time. If you want to see a deep dive on this farm, it'll be in the description, but basically we're generating cobblestone that gets infested and haunted, comes back up to be placed by these deployers that then spawn silverfish. This deployer is killing the silverfish, dropping the XP out onto this belt where it gets grinded by this grindstone. The XP then goes into this massive fluid tank, which is currently empty since we're still bringing all of our XP over here, as well as way around here to our Enchanting crafter here, which also stores them up in this barrel and will send them off whenever there's a request necessary. XP is also brought over to here where we're crafting our blocks of experience to be used over in this farm where we create our super blocks of experience. We're creating the super blocks of experience since you need, in order to get Swift, Sneak, and Mending, those super enchanting templates. We also have in the center here just some simple enchanting and blaze forgers so that you can manually enchant or forge items if you wish. We have a massive storage array of 6 3x3 volts that go quite a bit back so you can store plenty of items, and then this side is the actual important part. So first we have our super forger, which will automatically anvil up whatever 2 items you send it in whatever order is supplied, and then our printing array where we print every single book that we need that is laid out in the same order over at our factory board. This ranges from general armor, so things like Protection 5, Blast Protection 5, etc., all the way to our tools and weaponry. This whole thing is powered by this steam engine in the back where you will need to supply an infinite lava source, which is able to power it on just under half load, so you could double this if you wanted to. We connect it up with our Encased chain drive, so you could connect it up to the rest of your main base or have this be a standalone factory, but let's get into how you would actually enchant items once you have this set up. The board will start off with everything here being empty except for maybe the books. You'll need to input your own set of books into our storage system. All you'll have to do is flick the lever and input those there. And then next, you're going to want to input any tools that you have, weaponry, and armor. If it's not netherite, you'll need to change some of the factory gauges so they match as expected. And for things like the back tank, some of the enchantments are like capacity, which you wouldn't have on normal chest plates. So once we've added in a lot of these items here, if you only have one set of netherite armor, you just won't have any backups in line, which shouldn't be a problem. You'll just have to obviously insert a fresh set of full netherite gear if you either need more or die or lose it, whatever. And the same is true with tools. All the tools can be enchanted of up to 1. I've just set the filters to 4 since, I mean, if you've got a crazy farm like this, you could probably auto mine netherite. And then the same is true with the bow and sword. You can obviously move these around as you wish. But as you can already hear, we're getting tons of lightning strikes, and that is because our super forger is already up and running. I have upgraded it since our last video, and we are able to fully enchant pretty much every item since we are cutting open those cakes enchanting to cake slices enchanting, so we can get more granular with our liquid experience buildup. That smart system will always return it back to our storage, where we can then see all of the items that we are able to create currently with the books that we have available. Once these books get more XP, which is going to be one of the final steps in the process since it's a little bit further away than some other things, then we'll be able to get every single one of these. But for now, all we have to do is AFK. But after quite a bit of time AFKing with our Silverfish XP spawner, armor, we have everything set up now. And with that, we can come over to our requester and request, let's just say, a full set of armor. Why not? Full set of tools? Sure. A bow? Yeah. And all of this can be delivered into this chest for us. I bet you're wondering, how do we build this thing? And the first step of the process is to subscribe. Okay. Actually, though, the first step of the process is probably just going to be checking out the description where we have a schematic there. I hope you know how to use schematics. I mean, the Create mod has it built into the mod, and this is quite a complicated one. So hopefully you already know how those work. This will not be a schematic tutorial. Once you have the schematic, the next thing you need to do is place it down. And this is relatively important. If you want to rotate the farm, that may rotate some of the kind of spinning bits of the farm, and you may need to fix that. If you don't want to do any of that work, just keep it in the original rotation, and you can see there's going to be some jank with our factory gauges there. To the best of my knowledge, there is no redstone links in this farm, so having two in the same area, I don't think will cause problems on that front, but it will cause problems in that we're already going to have all of these things filled out for us from our original farm. That will be fixed though once we get to actually messing with stuff. So once you have it in the place that you want, we're gonna get it printed in. I'm just gonna use a schematic cannon, which will place it right away. We can also hyper increase the speed of this thing so it's a little bit quicker. Once this is pasted in, we can see that some of the stuff is super broken, like this right here. That should instead look like this, just to give you a little bit of info. But instead it is weird and broken. This is a common bug with Create 6 right now, and there's not a lot we can do about it other than just fix it. I don't know how many things are going to be broken. Obviously we can see here, this is already broken. I don't know how it got shafts going here. It seems like a lot of the belts, but maybe not a lot of everything else. The only real way to fix this right now is to, if you're a YouTube member, check out the world download in the YouTube member section of the Discord. Or if you're not, you're gonna need to get a schematic of each thing in here and place it in that way so that hopefully it's less likely to break. What you can do in that case is just paste in the schematic in your world, because that seems to work better than printing it in with a schematic cannon. And if you don't have permissions to do that, paste it into a creative world and then just jump between worlds to figure out how to do it, or use something like Lightmatica. Anyway though, we need to get rid of all of these things, all of these broken belts, and we're going to connect them here so that it looks like this. The next thing we need to do is fix these belts, and we may need to fix more stuff. If you want general troubleshooting advice for this farm, I would just check out the original build of it if it's not working for you, but I will briefly go over how to set it up since it is part of the farm still. This is so random, by the way. There's not a shaft that goes here. I don't know how it decides where to put stuff. It's just so bizarre. There we go. That is now cleaned up. We need the belts up here. This is horrible. What? You're also going to need to break and replace these fluid tanks because they get spawned in super janky. Like, we're going to need to fix these belts under here. You're going to need to supply your own source of sugar in this belt and lapis lazuli on this belt. You can farm sugar, but I left it blank in case you wanted to do the honey way or the sugarcane way. We're going to need to set up our steam engine, which we'll do a little bit later. But for now, we can put in shafts in this location because those don't spawn in regularly. You're just going to place them all along here so that these guys get arms, and then you should be good. I would turn on this clutch to start with, and then we'll get to setting up the steam engine. So the first thing we need to do is get water in here, and we're going to put two sources on either side so that the middle one is an infinite source. You're going to need to supply your own source of infinite lava, whether that's a cauldron setup or just a pump that goes down into a lava lake. I would flick this clutch as well to turn off the connections to the rest of the farm so that when we turn this on, it can boot itself up. And then once you have all that set up, we're going to need to just right click the hand crank until this starts going. And there we go. We should see that at least start booting up, which is good. The next thing we need to do is get in buckets into this spot here. I would just get 16 buckets. We're going to throw them into the top here. If this filter isn't set, make sure to set this to normal buckets and the one down here to lava. Once this is supplying us water, all we need to do is manually, unfortunately, for the first one, set up our blaze burner here, and then we'll throw our empty bucket back in here. Once that's the case, we can toggle this back on to turn on our mechanical arm. And then once all of those are filled with heat, you can check by looking at the boiler with your engineer's goggles. You should be at a level 9. Once that happens, we can then turn on the farm. Unfortunately, for us at least, that'll only do this one because all our chains broke for whatever reason. So we're gonna need to run around and put back all of our chains. I'm just gonna go along here and go the whole distance, and then I am gonna go across. It looks okay, I suppose, but it does make it way quicker to get stuff over to the side of the farm. If you haven't already, make sure these funnels are being placed in on the top. That didn't happen for me because there were belts there instead. Again, I would really, if stuff isn't working, paste this thing normally into creative because it seems like pasting is a better option. Paste it into creative and try to build it that way. Another thing that was broken is this belt under here, which is why we're not getting power over to this area. You can see that once we've done that, everything up here is fixed and this is moving back and forth, which is exactly what we want. However, we still haven't given this thing lava or water in order to generate cobble for us. So let's do that now. We're gonna put lava into both of these fluid tanks here. Since you're using Create Enchantment Industries, you can use something called a fluid hatch, which will do the same thing as an item hatch. If you right click a bucket into both of those, it'll fill up the fluid tank with 1 bucket each. We only need 1 bucket of lava in both of these, and then the next thing we need to do is open up some of these trapdoors and fill in lava into these mechanical pumps. And by lava, I totally meant water, because you can't lava log items, but once we've done that, those should all be filled, and then we can turn on the farm again. And we should see cobblestone getting created here. Again, check out the Silverfish XP farm if this isn't working, because I have some troubleshooting steps in there. To continue the process, we need a lava bucket here that will fill this thing up. We're missing a belt here. We should eventually be getting infested stone coming up here and being placed by these deployers. I'll just wait for that because it should be relatively soon that starts happening. There we go. Those are being placed in. I'm in peaceful mode, so let's turn to easy. There we go. We are getting silverfish. And right now our deployer is just punching them in the face and they're not doing anything. Before we go any further, you should get a sword. It obviously doesn't have to be the most OP one in the game right now, but I already have that, so I'm going to give it to him. What I would really recommend is having either sharpness 5 or smite 5, and then unbreaking, mending, and sweeping edge. But if you just give him a normal sword for now, by the time you get everything set up over on the factory gauge, you should have enough XP to make a goated sword, and then you can give it to him. If it has mending on it, it will heal and repair itself, which might be recommended. In order to give this thing a sword, it's probably best to have not started the farm. If you have started the farm, good luck. But what you would need to do in that situation, I think I can do it. If you can get a good angle, if you right click the top of it twice, we can break this. You can see that it's got a thing in its hand. Switch it with a sword. You need to make sure the filter is set to the right sword. Currently it's netherite. So if you're using a diamond sword in its hand, make sure it's set to diamond. And then we're going to right click the top of it again twice, so that's back to facing the correct way. Extend that belt if you did, and then drop that back out. We should now see, if we turn this on, these things getting sweeping edged, and we're gonna get way more XP per unit of time. Oh, another thing that broke. This is not supposed to be a belt. This is supposed to be a grindstone and an item drain. So put in an item drain, throw a grindstone on top of it. That should be spinning. I don't know why it isn't. You might need to rotate it twice. Yep, there we go. You should hear this horrible noise. If that's working, then you're doing a great job. And in the meantime, I'm gonna throw out all those so they get grinded down, but now a horrible noise will start forever. If that's working, then you know that we are actually getting XP in here, and you can hover over this and see that we sometimes have a little bit of liquid XP coming in. It does take a while for everything to fill up, so you're gonna be at 0 XP for a very, very long time. While that's running though, let's get all the Frogports up. These things need names. They also need to be connected back up to the chains. So let's get going. What I would recommend is getting this clipboard over here and copying it. I think you can right button to copy entries from this clipboard, and that'll add them to a new clipboard if you want to copy it just like that. What we need to do is just run around here, and first and foremost, if you did rotate the farm, you're going to need to reset all of these filters. All of these filters will change because tunnels are directional. If you rotate it, the filters will not be in the same spot and you'll have to cry. We're also going to need to set filters for all of these printers, which we'll do in a little bit. But let's start with this packager Frogport. Let's connect it up. Send it to only send packages, and then we're good. This one's going to be sending to storage, so that's the only thing we care about there. For this one, we're going to, again, click it on a thing, land it here, and this one we're going to name book with a capital P : asterisk. This is going to be everything book copying related. which is where all of these sub-package filters in those filter thingies go in, but that will take in anything that is book related, and that includes our book colon, general armor, thorns, helmet, back tank, etc. Moving on now to these three. This one is going to be called a very specific thing. This one is going to be our Enchanting Cake Requester 2, and for some reason my pasting didn't work perfectly, so just make sure it's set to that, and then make sure that this is set to, this should be request 1, request 1, request 1! And once that's done, this will continuously send requests to there. What we need to do first, though, is turn off everything here. And you obviously won't need to do this, but since I have built 2 of these in my world, they are going to need to be removed. So let's just delete anything related to anything over on this side for us. And now that that's removed, our Enchanting Cake Requester will get requests here, so that's what we want. And then this middle one, I think we've already connected up, but if we haven't, make sure it's sent to send only. This one over here, we're going to break and replace, putting it on top of the item vault, and this one we're going to call Super Forge. And make sure the spelling and capitalization is exactly what is in this clipboard. This one over here is going to be broken and replaced, set to only send. Same with this one over here, broken, replaced, only send. This one is going to be called Block of XP Requester. And then the one next to it is going to be send only. So connect it up, send only, easy peasy. All of these guys are going to be called storage, I think with a capital S. Yep, that is correct. So we're going to want to break all of these and then connect it up to the chains above. And then this one over here is going to be our access point. And I may be wrong, but I think that's everything that we care about Frogport wise. So actually way easier than the Andesite Age automation, thank goodness. Now we need to get in all of our books. This is where these 2 things come in. These are going to be our most important ones. You may need to wait until you have XP coming in here. So if that's the case, you may just want to AFK. But for me, I already have my books. I was making sure that it was actually connected and wasn't something broken underneath. But these will eventually get XP once everything is set up. Currently though, we're just getting blocks of experience being made here. Once that is completed though, we should be going on to making the cakes enchanting or whatever they're called. Oh, this isn't connected to power, which was, oh, that's why. Yeah, so what happened here is that this belt should have been brought fully along the entire way, but it wasn't. So make sure when you break and replace this, it goes all the way to here. You could actually shorten it by 1, and then you'll see that this basin should be dropping out here. We also need to put chickens into this hopper spot. What you can do to do this, we need an andesite encased shaft. So let's put back our shaft there. We're going to increase these wall heights by 1, and then we're going to get a bunch of eggs. And then you need to throw them in onto this hopper so that chickens will spawn and slide down there. Since I'm cool and epic, I can use a chicken spawn egg. Obviously you can't do this, but just get a bunch in there until they start entity cramming, like so, and then you're good. Then you can put an andesite encasing on top of it, and then they're stuck in this 1 by 1. Back to the books. We need books. This is configured. This whole factory board gauge board is configured for, it's not in this one. Oh, it's not in this one either. Is configured for Flame 2, Aqua Affinity 2, and Silk Touch 2. So if you don't have those or don't want to get those, you will need to change out a lot of the things on this board, including our weapons and tools and all that stuff. It's not that hard to do, but just a warning, if you don't want to get those level 2 type options, you're going to need to do something with them. We're going to need to get all of these books here that you see in my inventory, and the best way to do it is going to be through these 2 things here. What I would recommend is while we're getting experience here, trying your best to continue enchanting and stuff while you wait. And then at any other point, just AFK around this area until you get enough XP for it to pretty much fill up this tank back here. We're gonna need to get every single one of these books here, including this one. I'll let you pause and look at all the enchantments that we need for each one, but we're gonna need all of these enchanted books. And the best way to do it is going to be through the Blaze Enchanter and Blaze Forger. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it on the bow enchanted book for us. But as you can see, some of the ones like armor require 3 books to do, like Swift Sneak, the protection setup, and thorns, but things like the bow only need 1. You can also see that we have infinity and mending on them, so we'll get into how in the world you do that in a little bit. So the way to get started is to head over to our Blaze Enchanter, right-click the thing with a bow, to set the filter to bows, and then increase the enchanting level up to 30. Then we're going to place in a probably a few different enchanting templates, and this will basically enchant whatever enchanting template with a bow enchantment for us. This will just make sure we get one of the ones that we want, and in this case we got power 4. This is fine. We don't need power 5 for this. We can deal with this in a second. This is pretty good and exactly what we needed for normal enchanting. So with this strategy, we're going to need to get flame, punch, unbreaking, infinity, and power at any level. It doesn't really matter once you get there. Oh, enchanting completed, and we got another power 4. Yeah, so you're going to need to do this quite a few times. The way to unenchant something, if you either want, you can put it on a book, if you want to keep that enchantment, which we do want to keep for one of each of these things, or if you don't, you could just throw it back in this grindstone here and it'll disenchant it for you. I suppose right-clicking it works. I didn't know that. That's super helpful. Once you have all of the enchantments that you need, other than mending, we're going to need to get mending on this thing. And that's where these cakes o enchanting come in. If you're confused about how these work, I would check out the video that I posted last week. But if we fill this up with hopefully enough, and we just put a super enchanting template on it, it will super enchant it at level 30, which should be fine, actually. And it should give us right away... Oh, I did it too quick. Gave us punch 2. Let's bump this up to 60, and I think this will give us better odds of getting mending. But basically, the super enchanting lets us get impossible or difficult things like mending or... Oh, it's invalid. Oh, there we go. 35 seems to be the highest. There we go. We finally got mending. We also got power 5. That's not super necessary for our use cases, but it's good to have. It did take a while. I set it to 38 on the bow in order to get it, and it took about 5 attempts. Maybe 10. Holy smokes. It took quite a little bit, but these cakes of enchanting are not as expensive as they once were. Let's stop this tick warp. But now we officially have all of the enchanting template and flavors that we need in order to get everything that we need. So let's get our books. We're going to need quite a few of these to take off the enchantments from the templates and put them onto the book. What we're going to do is put in one book and one enchanting template, and it will take off the enchanting template and put it on the book for us. This will let us be able to duplicate it in a printer setup that we have over there. Once this is done, we can see we have our power 4, and then we're gonna do the same thing for all of the rest of them. Make sure you always put the book first. If you don't put the book first, it won't work at all. Once you get to the mending set, we're gonna need our cakes o enchanting again, since we need to super enchant this. So once you do that, right click on this bad boy, give it a book, give it your super enchanting and template with mending on it, and it will craft up a thingy for you. Now we can use our Blaze Forger to combine these enchanted books, and you don't even need the super enchanting on them anymore. If you do want to switch back to normal XP, you're gonna need to break and replace the Forger, because it won't work if you have super XP on it. But as you can see, we put mending on a thing without needing the super XP. So we can now just put it all on one book, and once it combines, we can see that the enchanted book result is going to be pretty much exactly what we want, just one level lower than the max that it can be. This is perfectly fine for our use, since now we can just duplicate this book. Something else that was broken, this mechanical pump isn't spinning. For some reason, the pasting missed a cog there. I'm really not sure how this bug has occurred, but it has. Next, we need to wait for a printer to get enough liquid experience. What we're gonna do here is I'm just gonna put it on one of these. It doesn't really matter. I'm gonna put it on the bow just so we're consistent, and then we're gonna put in a singular book underneath this thing. Once that gets printed up, we should be able to check here. We get our enchanted book, and now we have 2 of them. Now, though, we do need to cake o enchant this thing, and then put both books on there. And this should, requiring 569 millibuckets, enchant something with power 6, punch 2, power 6, flame 2, punch 3, unbreaking 4, and mending. This is our ultimate god book that we need. So we can remove this from the printer and put our god book in there, and then we need to do the same thing for all of the rest of them, which again are the following. Thorns 4, Prot 5, Blast Prot 5, Fire Prot 5, Projectile Prot 5, Unbreaking 4, Mending, Respiration 4, Aqua Affinity 2, Swift Sneak 4, Silk Touch 2, Efficiency 6, Unbreaking 4, Mending, Fortune 4, Efficiency 6, Unbreaking 4, Mending, Sharpness 6, Smite 6, Sweeping Edge 4, Looting 4, Unbreaking 4, Mending, Feather Falling 5, Soul Speed 4, Depth Shredder 4, and Capacity 4. And then obviously the book one that we just made. Once we have all of those, we're going to go down the line and put them into their respective sections. So we're going to start with General Armor. This one's going to be our protection set. So this one's going to be the Prot 5, Blast Prot 5, etc. We're going to put it in this one. Then Then we're going to get our Thorns 4 and put it in this one. And then we're going to go to the helmet ones. These are going to be Respiration and Aqua Affinity. Then it's the back tank, which is Capacity 4. And then we're going to do leggings and then boots. So capacity, our leggings just with Swift Sneak 4, and then our boots with Feather Falling, Soul Speed, and Depth Strider. Then we can get onto the tools. We're going to do Fortune, Silk Touch, and then our sword, and then our bow. So Fortune in this one, Silk Touch here, sword, and then bow at the very end. With all of those set, we should now be good? Question mark? Again, I don't know why this didn't exist. I didn't break that, I don't think. We should now be good though, and we can double check that our factory gauges are working as expected. If we put all these books in here, we should have one of each of those factory gauge books. There we go. We have one of each of these things. Perfect. Now we need to get with setting up our factory gauges. You can, if you want, put in your netherite armor now, but honestly, probably just wait. It shouldn't take too long to set all these up, and if you mess something up, it's better to do that without it making a bunch of requests for you. I am going to have something weird and different here because I have promises due to having an identical one here that was making requests and doing a bunch of stuff for us before. So to get started, let's do all of our books. All of these things are going to come from a book. So let's bring that as the starting point here. You may or may not have it already configured to request 10 items. If that is the case, I would recommend coming back pretty quickly and putting all of these books up to 10 gives us 10. I would really recommend to not request more than 10 in this section here. I wouldn't recommend to do many more, since it may break some of these package filters and tunnels. But we're going along, setting all of these to 10, connecting them all up with the book up at the top, and then once we've set them all to 10, then we can put our books into the storage system themselves. This farm does not automate books for you, but you can throw that on in addition to this if you'd like. It should be pretty simple depending on your mod pack, but for me, I'm just gonna put in a bunch of books here. If we power that, it'll all go into our main storage, and once all of the books are out of here, we can turn that back off, and we should see that we have a boatload of books, and requests should be being sent over here where, oh, we have another belt issue. Good thing we thought about this. Oh, another belt issue, incredible. We need to belt up all the way over to here, and yep, I hate this game. We need to place back all of these things because the belts in this game are broken and stupid. Okay, well, I guess for the people that don't have these filters set for whatever reason, whether it's on purpose or not, we get to do them all here and live. So we're gonna place in brass tunnels in front of every single saw, and at the very end, I don't know why this is here, we can remove this last little belt, but now we get to put in a bunch of filters. So I am off by 2 filters, that'll be fun to figure out, but what we're gonna do is name these things as follows. This one's gonna be Tools Silk. It should auto-populate since we have the clipboard here. The Silk Tools are gonna go directly in front of the Silk Tools. This one is our back tank, which is going to go in front of the back tank. Thorns goes in thorns, etc. It should be pretty simple. They're all named the same format, where it is book, colon, space, and then the item that you're enchanting. All of the items are here. So general armor, helmet, back tank, leggings, etc. It should be really easy. And once I put all of those in, you can see we are missing sword and our fortune tools. So what we need to do is search up book, do tools fortune, and then the same thing with book, sword. And once we have that, this is pretty much done. All we need to do is reset this filter over to here. We're gonna need to grab a list filter, keep it at allow list, keep it at ignore data, and put it in here. This will allow literally nothing to get through here, so we should be good. And now that that has been fixed, we're gonna need to run around and reset all of these promises since they're all broken now for sure. We should soon see that all of these are now working. If you don't have enough liquid experience in your tank here, this will probably take a very long time to do, especially if you're doing the general armor ones and the thorns, both of which require almost a bucket of experience, which is quite expensive. This will also take a little bit to send out all of the books, but don't be too worried, it'll be pretty quick, all things considered. Once those are being queued up, we can get working on everything else. So to give you a little bit of an idea of what's going on here, we have all of our armor. This is going to be after 1 enchant with general armor, and this is going to be after 1 enchant with thorns, and then these are all of the niche ones like helmet, back tank, leggings, and boot specific ones. So let's start with the after a singular enchant. We're going to give it all to add a new one, and it's going to be our unenchanted version of armor. and then they're all going to be this first book here. So make sure they're all set to this first book, and you should be able to go down and see that all of these are set to 1 and 1, and then they're all being sent to our Superforge. Once those are all configured, make sure you reset promises if that is applicable for you, and just make sure they're set to request 1 item each. Oh man, you can see we have more things broken. Again, don't know how this has happened, but that's okay. So I have just reset this belt to go from this gearbox all the way to this depot. Good thing that wasn't broken. You know what is broken though? The stuff under here. Horrible. Surely they pushed an update. This is new to the update. How does something break this bad? If this breaks for you as well, all we need to do is put back 2 sets of tunnels. The first set is going to be unenchanted. We're setting it to force split. Ooh, when I said force split, this should be split. Just set it to split. This next one is going to be set to synchronize inputs, and we're going to have 2 attribute filters. The first one should be tagged enchantables. That's going to go in the first one, and the second one is not tagged enchantables. That's going to be the second one. Once that is set up, I'm missing blocks, but maybe I'm not. Thinking everything else here is looking as expected. I suppose we'll find out. Oh, a thing about this stupid repackager. You need to depower it and repower it for it to work, because that's a schematic issue. But once that's fixed, we can continue on. So for the next set of helmet and armor, we're going to add a new connection, set it to the previous armor that we should have already enchanted, and then we're going to add a new connection and do the second book in the row. This is going to be thorns for us. We're going to do that all the way down, and all of these should be set to thorns and the other thing, and then I have to reset my promises. You shouldn't have to. All right, all of those are set. The next thing are going to be our helmet. That's going in the 3rd row. Interestingly, our book helmet is potentially broken. I don't know where that went. There it is. Okay, so sometimes and occasionally your items will be stuck in these brass tunnels because they're a little bit jank. If that's the case, just run around, go to the back and try to find them. And if that happens, you can then reset the promise and it will fix itself. So as you saw, we've already put in our helmet book. We need to then connect it to the helmet. The same with the back tank, connect it to the back tank, and then put in the 4th book in the row. Leggings, 5th book, and then our thorns leggings, boots, thorns boots, and then the 6th book here. The rest should be relatively easy. This one is our fortune tools. So we're gonna come down pretty much vertically straight down and go to the pickaxe and add the thing way above it. Same with the shovel, directly above, axe directly above, and hoe directly above. You can then add all of these to get a normal pickaxe, normal shovel, etc. And the same is true over on the Silk Touch side. You want to connect it up with the one directly above it. So no longer fortune, directly above it now is Silk Touch, and then we're also going to connect it with our tools. And then just jump through all of these to make sure they're all set to the right thing and you didn't misclick or anything. But now we should all be good. I'm going to reset any of these promises because again, they're connected up, they're all annoying, whatever, you shouldn't have to do this. The final 2 are our sword and bow. The sword is going to go in this second to last one and the bow is in the last one. And then make sure you also connect it up to the correct tool and weapon. I'm going to again reset promises. And now I think we should all be good on everything here. Now we need to do is put in our armor, tools, and weapons. I'm going to start off with the bow since that's what we did to begin with. And this part could potentially get really annoying if you got something wrong, or if you have a slightly different enchantment configuration, because that'll change quite a bit of these things. So I am currently enchanting all of our bow books. Once that happens, it'll send it back to storage, and then a bow and its enchanted book should be sent out to be super forged over in this section here. Ooh, I did the thing. So we have a bunch of bow books, but we're seeing that there's no books there. And that is gotta be because I did something wrong. So in order to fix this, we need to send it to the access point, and that will eventually bring it over into our chest here. We can see that this enchanted book has power, flame, punch, unbreaking. It doesn't have infinity. Oh, that's the one thing I forgot. If you did that, make sure you grab an infinity book and combine it up. We could do that over here at our forger, and then we're going to need to reset this press because that's totally wrong. So it's a good thing we caught that before we started doing anything crazy. I'm going to take all of the books out. That's the first time I've done that, I guess. But now we have our brand new enchanting book, and that should now work. So if we reset this promise, it should give us the right one now. And that's a good way to check to see that you have the right enchantments. All right, now we should see that book get ingested and then our bow being sent out. I think that's it right there. That'll get picked up by this and split into two. Split into two. Oh, a thing about this stupid repackager. You need to depower it and repower it for it to work because that's a schematic issue. Oh, that shouldn't be. Oh, you know what? So this is my fault. This is my fault. I should have done a better job at this. This is my bad. I should have had you do something different. Oh my goodness. Okay, my fault, my bad. I should have had you done something different. This is because our factory gauges are a little bit stupid. Since we put in the books first for all of these, it sent out a bunch of requests with just the books. Since it's like, oh, we just need a book in order to get our fancy helmet and not also the helmet. So make sure you connect it up to the armor first and then the book. Armor first and then the book connected up. I'll put that into where we were doing it before, but we should see that our bow is at least working. I can put all of these books and stuff back so that we can reuse them. So it's not the end of the world if you did it my way, but my way was stupid, so probably don't do that. Once those are all sent out though, we can kind of supply it with more items and stuff. We are getting our bows in here, which is good news. I'm curious to see if all 4 have been sent out or not, because it doesn't really feel like it. Let's try it again in a second. Those 2 should get sent out. Now let's get all of our armor and tools. As I mentioned, you only technically need 1 of each, and let's show that off here. So I'm going to supply 1 of each set of armor, and I'm going to do 1 set of tools. We do have Fortune and Silk Touch ability, but I'm curious which one it'll prioritize. So if we send those all out, we should see that slowly but surely these will all get requests, which will generate requests for these, which will slink through the system and work as expected. The most challenging and difficult part to make sure that it works is going to be the super forger here. You need to put it in the correct order, which is why we have this complicated system to do it for us, and it should always put the tool first and then the book. If that's working as expected, that's good, but if something stops working and it seems to be like hanging in one of these enchanting situations, check over here to make sure it's not set as like an improper enchanting method or something stupid like that, because it happens maybe 1 out of 30 times. And after just a little bit of time AFKing, you can see that we have 1 of each of our things, and super interestingly, why do we have no axes? Oh, maybe I didn't put an axe in. Oops. But we have 1 of each. We have a Silk Touch pick, a Fortune shovel, and a Fortune hoe. I don't know how it chose one or the other, but my guess is it's going to fill up each of these. So you may want to just bump these both down to 1 and 1, since that is almost certainly more expected of how many tools and weapons you're going to have of each thing, instead of the 3 and 3 that I was doing before. And the same with armor. We don't need 4 different sets of armor if you don't want it. You can set it to 1 or 2 and that should be fine. You do have to set each of these to 0 out of 1, or you have to set these to 1 at least, otherwise it will never make them, even if you have the armor here and the need here. So you have to set these to 1, even if they don't fill out, that's still fine. And the same is true here. So what we can do is let's just grab another set of netherite tools and let's enchant those so that we fill out this whole board and we have a full set of tools and armor max enchanted, and then that'll be the end of the video. We will be all done. And while this is enchanting, make sure you check out my merch. I have merch. It's really cool. It's probably the best clothing I own at the moment, but it's so comfy. It's so nice. I'm a huge fan of it. The designs are super cool. They are sleek. You won't know that you're wearing YouTuber merch. That's the whole goal of it. That's why I like wearing it. It's comfy, it's simple, it's got a cute little smiley guy on it. So definitely check it out in the description or in the title card or the thingy. It's kindlebubblegum.com. We have mugs, we have stickers, we have shirts, we have everything, hats, whatever. Oh, and then also subscribe and like the video and all that stuff. But it looks like everything is now working. We should be good. We have 1 of each of these things, 1 of each of our tools, except for an axe, which is taking its time. Oh, there it goes. There goes the axe. Let's see it. There we go. We have everything that we need. Everything is set up. Everything is working. That is going to be the video. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this factory walkthrough and tutorial and everything else, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.